The center 20.
You know how it goes.
Hey, your reputation as the best run blocking receiver. Sorry, you have a reputation as the best run blocking receiver. What do you guys need to do to fix that?
I just think we really got to clean up our assignments. We come in and we work it every week and haven't been executing to the level that our coaches want and executing the level that we want. So I think it's constantly just going to be based on the execution that we could come out and have every Saturday.
What you see Carnell? I know there was a lot of talk about him all season, but finally getting him in games. What has it been like to see?
Yeah, no, he's a great player already, but sky's the limit for the kid, and he does everything well. He comes out, he has a very level head, he's really mature. His route running is very good. He's good with his hands. So like I said, sky's really the limit for him.
In the game time he's gotten, where have you seen the most?
The most growth, I would say, just taking every aspect of the game seriously, because you come in from high school and you just want to be a receiver, you want to be a pass catcher, you want to be this, you want to be that, but to come in and making an impact in the run game and continue to improve on the outside is it's really, really good for him.
What does that maturity kind of show itself? You mentioned Carnell being so mature. In what aspects have you seen that show up?
Like I said, just taking every aspect of the game really, really seriously. Not just catching a ball, not just doing this in a receiver standpoint. Being able to come out, make plays on the outside, block on the inside. Take meetings to the field. Just like I said, every aspect of the game. I personally love grass. I don't know what everyone else thinks about it, but we got to handle the elements. We've had a couple rain practices, we had a couple bad element practices over the past couple years. So we're going to go out, we're going to execute to the best of our potential, and whatever happens, happens.
What's the season been like for you, Joy? It's the first season that you've been healthy.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's been great. I get to go out there and I get to practice every day. I get to do what I love every day. I get to be around the people I love every day. So it's been great, especially just from a health standpoint and just doing whatever, whatever's asked of me.
As teams are bracketing more, how has that changed your role, if at all?
Really. Speaking of Marv, there he is. But it definitely changes it all. He makes such an impact, on defenses and them trying to be able to handle him that it really opens up every other aspect of the game, whether it be the run game or just give opportunities to other receivers. So defenses really have a hard time scheming him, and it's going to continue to be really hard for them.
Is that happening more this year?
Yeah, I'd say his growth as a player. I mean, he's taken steps every single year, and this year is definitely his best year. You can see from every aspect of the game. So he's constantly been improving, and teams are definitely going to find it hard to deal with him.
Does even like Marv obviously has the ankle injury, but let's just say hypothetically say even if he's 75%, does the 75% Marvin Harrison still make a huge impact?
Yes.
Even if the ball's not going in because of the bracket.
100%. Regardless, Marv's going to make an impact. And, every aspect of the game, whether he's 50%, 75%, 80%, 100%. Marv's Marv, and he does what he does, and he does it very well. Yeah, just being him, being able to get in there and get all those starting reps and, constantly build chemistry with all the receivers, really build as a leader and continue to, improve in every aspect of the game and take stuff a lot more seriously. So I think he's doing really, really well, and he's going to continue to improve as the season goes on. Good.
I think you got one over here, man.
No.
Your favorite linebacker. Center 20.
What's up, Dan?
Kate's having the most productive season we've seen from a tight end here in a long time. What has he done to himself?
What do they say, Dan? Was it rat poison? Is that what Coach Saban calls that? So we really do have our blinders on, and I think it starts with Cade. He'll be the first one to be like, I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want. And he and I always tease each other about it because we hate the like the pats on the back. When someone's patting you on your back, usually you want to stay far away from those people. With that said, I don't want to get back to Cade, but I am super proud of how he's prepared. Right. Dan, you talk about up to this point in the season. I go back to the off season and to spring ball and summer and all the work he put in. I'm happy that it's showing up on Saturdays, that you get to see kind of the dedication he put into his craft. So the stats will take care of themselves, but we're going to keep working and see where we're at the end of the year. Hopefully, as a team, hitting all our goals. Just the selflessness. Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand, right? I mean, we're so process driven. People like to talk about PFF grades and receptions and targets. We'll talk about hours working when everyone else is sleeping, cut ups, when the opponent might be doing something else. So, yeah, I think those go hand in hand. There's a direct correlation. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Sean, Coach Binks, he's the next big young coach out of Ohio State, and I take a lot of pride in that. Obviously, following that path as a support staff member, him and Mike Seleni are just rock stars. But Sean and Kay's relationship is awesome because they're both kind of feisty by nature. So they're always, it feels like button heads. They're like two old ladies barking at each other sometimes, but I think they bring out the best in each other. And Sean's been a huge help to me. Yeah, I mean, that's a phenomenal question. Traditionally speaking, when teams trot out two tight ends, everyone in the stadium's thinking run, right? Everyone's thinking run. When you got two athletic guys like we have, we can play 10 personnel, meaning no tight ends on the field, those kind of traditional sets, throwing the ball with two tight ends. So now as a defensive coordinator, I see, Stover and G. Scott come running out. It's like, do I defend that with an extra linebacker? If so, then you better be able to cover us. You put an extra safety in, you better buckle up your chin strap because we're going to block you. So that's kind of the two sides to a 12 personnel there.
Yeah, so you guys use two tight end sets more against Maryland than any other game this year. Was that more matchup based? Was it more of a confident QB and his blocking?
Well, I think both, and credit to those guys. Coach Day said at the beginning of the season, this offense is trending towards having versatility. To your point, I think we played like 60%, 12 personnel, not counting third downs and red zone, but based down a distance. And it's just credit to our guys. I'm looking to bring in the best tight ends in the country that are receivers and blockers and all around guys. And hopefully with this offense, an NFL offense, you come here, you're going to be in the perfect position to contribute.
Caden Curry playing on offense now a little bit? Is that part of your jurisdiction? Like, are you working with him to be that extra tackle? Or is that more Justin right now?
No, yeah. I mean, I think if you ask him, I think he would consider himself a tight end when he plays that fullback role. We were joking we got to get him one of our tight end sweaters just for those packages. But Caden's phenomenal. I think it starts with obviously defense, but turn on his clips at special teams, and you kind of see that motor and that versatility. Hey, Caden. When you go in down at the goal line, are you a tight end? There you go. You just got your answer.
Can he catch?
Can he catch?
Can you catch?
Let's to be determined. There you go. There you go. There you go. To be determined. What else you guys got?
How's Joe coming?
Yeah, Joe's doing well. You think, all of the guys, not just Joe, but all of our guys every day, we're fighting to be the best version of ourselves. And Joe's been doing that, and he'll keep coming along.
What have you thought of the way he's blocked this year?
Yeah, no, I think it's been really good. G has one of the best first two steps of anyone that I've seen. And again, I credit it. We got a lot of guys here that could help out as far as like a coaching staff and support staff and a lot of expertise. One guy in particular, Coach Philbin, like Joe Philbin. Again, guys, he was an offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl. He was a head coach in the NFL, and he's come in and been a huge resource to me, and to Cade and to G. Like, I challenged them. How stubborn are you if we have Joe Philbin down the hall and you're not pounding on his door? Hey, help me with my run blocking fundamentals. Help me with, and I know there's rules of things he can do and can't do, but he's definitely a great resource for our players and for me. Definitely, to your point, to G's blocking.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
We'll bring in G. Scott right here.
Awesome.
Thank you, buddy. Yep.
Folks, we have G. Scott at the middle 20.
Got more snaps Saturday than you had in your entire career. How did that feel? And I guess is that a confidence boost for you going forward this season?
Yeah, it's definitely a confidence boost. I think it's good to provide value to the team in any way possible. So when I look at me getting more snaps, I don't necessarily look at it, it's like it's not really glorifying me as much, but more so that's what our coaching staff thought was best, to go out there and execute at a high level. And so I just look at it like that, and I go out there and do my job at the highest level possible, and let the results be the results.
Keenan said something that separates you both as a blocker and as a pass catching option is your first two steps, right? He said you have great first two steps.
Yeah.
Is that something that transitioned over from receiver, or is there something else that goes into that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think some of the things that you're able to take to the football field, some of that's God-given ability. There's some things that I see guys go out here every day and do some things that aren't normal, that are things that you even just gifted with. Some of the things that we earn, as Coach Day likes to talk about a lot, is discipline and skill. And so a lot of my skill, my hands, my ability to block, all comes from working at it. But maybe I'm just more explosive coming off the ball. That's just something I've been gifted with. And I plan to just keep using that as my advantage as I continue to grow and get stronger and bigger to really move guys off the line of scrimmage. So I think that'll be a vital weapon for me moving forward.
When we talked earlier in the season, you spoke about being the best version of yourself holistically, not just on the field.
Absolutely.
Where is that at for you right now? And just how are things progressing?
Everything's amazing. Everything's amazing. It's kind of like, it's exactly the same as I said before. I kind of look at the way I approach football is the same way I approach everything else in my life, whether it's school, relationships, the way I treat, the people around here, the way I'm a leader. All of those things kind of go hand in hand. And so the whole goal is, the last time we had this interview, I was the best version of myself then. The whole goal is to be even a better version of myself now. And, God willing, the next time I come and sit down here, I'll be a better version of G. Scott Jr. And so that's the whole goal, man. And it's a constant progression of bettering yourself. And I don't think this really has to do with just football. This is life. This is life. It's just constant development and growth. And I think this kind of program and this place is just the perfect recipe for that. This is where you develop. Everyone around here challenges you, and everyone's challenged you. And when that rubber hits the road and that friction starts getting hard, that's where you really start to grow. And so that's where I've been at in my life. And so it's just a constant growth. So, yeah.
Where do you think that mentality growth and development? Where do you think
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think my faith, plays a huge role in it. Finding my foundation in something different than football. I think initially, I kind of found myself as a football player when you said G. Scott Jr.'s name, the person that I was associated with football, and that's who I was. So if I was having a bad day at practice, maybe I'm less of a person now because I'm not performing at a high level of football practice. And let's say I go out and practice, now I'm like, I'm macho man, and I'm so amazing. I kind of disassociated, who I am with, the sport that I play, and I found my foundation in Christ. And so regardless if I have a great game or, a bad game, regardless, I'm pretty level-headed, and I have a good understanding of my foundation is built in something a lot deeper than the sport that I play.
What do you see as the biggest advantage for this team when you guys go to 12 personnel?
I think the ability to be able to I think putting the defense in conflict. I mean, I don't know what you can kind of game plan for. We can stretch you horizontally. We can go downfield, and we can also just run the ball up the middle. I think we do really good things on the perimeter, blocking on the perimeter, Cade and I. So I think that it's just kind of, I think it's hard to defend. You have to literally defend every dimension of the field when him and I are out there, and let alone being able just to line up on the line of scrimmage and run right down the middle.
Specifically on the blocking side of things, what's the biggest step you've taken this season?
I think just continuing to get bigger and stronger, and then just repetition. You know, just like you do anything else in life, the more you do it, the better you get, the more comfortable you get, the more you know, like riding a bike, the more you mess up, the more you fall down. You're like, wait, okay, yeah, when I put the weight this way, I seem to fall. And so just kind of like trial and error, just learning over time. I just continue to grow and get better. I'm weighing like 244 now, and so I feel a little bit more powerful. And I think all of those things kind of go hand in hand, and it's developed me and helping me become a better blocker and overall football player.
Gee, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Yep, thanks, guys.
Just, you know, just.
All right, guys, we'll put Kyle McCord right here in the middle. What's up, brother? How you, Kyle? Good. How are you? Good.
Kyle, were you more interested in watching 2 of 7 for 14 or 17 of 22 for 306?
Definitely the latter of the two, but a lot to grow on from the first 7 attempts, really the first, I think, 4 or 5 drives. And a lot to grow upon. Obviously, we need to start faster, get things going earlier, but I think it was good to see the whole offense just kind of rebound a little bit and get things going.
Have you always been somebody who, wants to get into a rhythm early, and have you been able to detect anything that maybe you can switch up to get there a little quicker?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just finding completions early on, getting yourself going. And I think it's honestly just a mental thing, not trying to feel the game out, just going in. And, if Coach A calls a shot early on, take the shot if it's there. If he calls it intermediate pass, read the defense, space it out, whatever it is, and just get things rolling. Because I feel like when we start fast and, we put points up on the board early, we're going to be really tough to compete with.
How does the game change from the first quarter to the second quarter to the third quarter? Because obviously you played better as the game went on, but is there something that changes throughout the game? But it feel like, what, is there anything to point too?
Yeah, I think you just kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm. I think early on, just as an offense, and I think I um, wasn't necessarily helping, but we were just choppy, and we really never got into a rhythm. I feel like every single time we would take 2 steps forward, we would take a step back, and it's hard to move the ball, especially early on when you're playing behind the sticks and you're in those 3rd and long situations. It's an uphill battle at that point. So I think we need to do better on 1st and 2nd down. I need to do better on 1st and 2nd down, keeping us on schedule, especially early on, because I think we showed in that second half when we're moving the ball early on in the drive and we get things going. We'll put points up on the board.
Everybody spent 2 weeks talking about Marv's ankle, and they didn't pay any attention to you.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
How would you assess just generally how you developed this year, how you playing on that?
I think just taking a step back and looking at the 5 games, I think I've made good progress from game 1 to game 5. But it's exciting knowing that, we're 5-0 and we're in a good spot, but there's so much for this team and myself included to just grow upon. I feel like we're not even tapped into the potential team that we can be. And so knowing that we have a lot more room to improve and grow upon, it's exciting.
You guys use more 12 personnel than you have all season against Maryland. How does that change the look for you, both in the running game and the passing game?
Yeah, I think just with our tight ends room, we got really, I think, 3 or 4 guys that can do really good things in the pass game, getting out and running routes, and then also guys that can go in there and block. And so I think that creates a mismatch. If they want to put a linebacker on them, I like that matchup. And then if they want to keep an extra DB on the field, we'll do a good job running the ball. So I think it's just kind of that chess kind of game going back and forth. And that tight end room has done a really good job of being able to do both of those things for us.
Where have you seen G take the biggest steps this year?
Yeah, I think G obviously coming over from receiver, I really don't think he ever lost anything in his route running and his ball skills or anything like that. I feel like the biggest thing was just becoming that physical presence on the field. And, it takes a while when, you play, your whole life out in the perimeter and now you have to put your hand in the dirt. But he's done a great job embracing that. He's one of the toughest guys on the team. And I feel like he really enjoys the dirty work that a tight end does.
You ripped back-to-back touchdowns to Marvin.
Yeah.
Ryan said it was the most comfortable, confident that you've looked in the red zone.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that too? Do you think that was the most comfortable that you've been in the red zone, and how can you kind of take that forward and learn from that?
Yeah, I feel like with both of those plays that he called, I got a good pre-snap look at the defense and then confirmed that post-snap. And obviously Marvin did a great job on both those plays, getting open. And in the red zone, I think, nothing's really open. You just have to trust that your guy's going to make a contested catch, and then that's exactly what he did. So I think that was good to kind of see, myself and the whole offense kind of take a step in the right direction in that area, because obviously early on, that was one of the areas we struggled in. So to take a step in the right direction and continue to grow upon that is, I think, the goal now.
Your chemistry with Emeka Egbuka is now world famous, because of the Notre Dame game and even last week. What do you miss when you lose a guy for a game or two like that? And who do you expect to step up big time maybe this week?
Yeah, I mean, Mech is obviously a fantastic player. You can put him in the slot or outside. He's going to make plays regardless. But I feel like if there's any position room that could, have a next guy up and really not skip a beat, it would be that receiver room. So regardless of if Mech is going to play or not, I'm not sure. But just having confidence in the guys in that room, we're extremely deep in that room. So I think regardless of who goes out there, if he doesn't play, I don't think we'll miss a beat.
Is Cardinal Tate basically ready for like a more fuller action? I mean, a more full-time kind of action?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Take on him?
I mean, Cardinal's been ready since the day he got here. I mean, he was extremely polished, and obviously spending the last 8 months with Coach Hartline and Coach Day, and kind of shaping up his game. I mean, he's going to be scary good. So I think it's not if, but when for Cardinal, and whenever that is, he's going to take off.
Two more questions.
I mean, I feel like honestly, I think I have a part to do. With that run game, I feel like I have to do better early on, get us ahead of the change. Because I think it's tough when teams either are anticipating the run because we're not passing the ball well, or if we're not passing the ball well in early downs, and we're behind the chain, 2nd and 10, whatever. And then, it's tough to run the ball in those situations because, you're trying to play catch up. But, I feel like it's, at times it's there. And I feel like there's been points throughout the year where the passing game hasn't looked great and the run game has carried us. And I wouldn't say that was necessarily the case on Saturday. I feel like, we were just playing behind the sticks. And so we were trying to pass the ball to make up for it. But I see it in practice every day, like it's there, and I think it's only a matter of time now till this thing really takes off.
You've run the ball to Cade a lot this year. Just what has Cade done to make you so comfortable throwing the ball?
Yeah, Cade is a dog, man. I mean, there's not a thing on that field that he can't do at that tight end position. And so, like I was talking about earlier, I think it just creates a mismatch. And he's done a great job, I think, of taking that next step as a receiver. I feel like with his route running and his ball skills and just his knowledge of the game, I feel like that's where he's grown the most this past year. I mean, he just looks more comfortable running routes. And, obviously, when you're playing with a great receiving core, there's going to be some good mismatches with Cade. And I think we've done a good job so far of exploiting them.
A quick bonus question. Caden Curry, what is he bringing more and more to the table?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, Caden defensively obviously plays with a high motor. I think you guys saw that this past game, made a few big plays, especially when we needed it on offense. We were struggling a little bit. And then you bring him over to the offensive side of the ball. And, anytime he can get on the field and hit somebody, he's all in for it. So you'll see him run down on kickoff and lighten a dude up. I mean, sometimes it doesn't look right seeing a dude wearing number 92 move that fast, but, he's doing a great job.
Kyle, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep, thank you.
I'm not on that semester. I know.
How long ago did you start? A year? It's coming up on we're coming up on a year. Okay. Well, don't be surprised.
So 30 minutes?
We're rolling already.
Well, am I free to start, Kevin?
You are free to start. All right, I just want to talk for a little bit so that Kevin's going to have to edit this.
1 second.
And also, I want to apologize for Kevin, for Tom, for everybody.
You don't need to apologize for me. You've got nothing to apologize for. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, Kevin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom. How's it going?
Toot toot, Tony. Boiler up. It is time to hear a train whistle 5,000 times. Is that better or worse than the Wildcat roar and or the Nittany Lion roar?
Well, I don't think anything is worse than the Nittany Lion roar. Was it Northwestern where it was like, that's a Northwestern first down?
And they may have said that's another Northwestern first down after the first Northwestern first down of the game, and it was like, unless we're counting from last week.
Well, it was like the time at Nebraska when they had all the balloons, and then they released the balloons after a score, and there was no scores, so they just random first down in the third quarter, like let's.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
Yeah, theyese balloons aren't just they're gonna eventually deflate.
These balloons aren't going to kill wildlife by themselves.
So here it is, a Wednesday evening, post interviews at Ohio State. Not many players tonight, but they gave us some coaches. In fact, we talked to Justin Fry, Larry Johnson, Keenan Bailey, and Brian Hartline. And on the players' side, G. Scott, Caden Curry, quarterback Kyle McCord. Did I get everybody correct, Tom?
JT Tuimoloau. Yes.
So there you go. A bunch of players, a bunch of coaches, and a great time was had by all. Of course, I think the burning topic of conversation among Brian Hartline and Justin Fry was the running game, just as it was on Tuesday with Ryan Day. And the good news, Tom, is it's all totally fixable. So by this time tomorrow, you should have a fantastic running game at Ohio State.
Yeah, this is a great example of the difference between fixable problems and fixed problems, because I think the problems have been fixable and have been presented as fixable since the beginning of the season, and we're still using the present and or future perfect tense, I think, on that. I think that's it. It's been a while since I took an English class. But
I don't even know what a gerund is.
Yeah, it's not the past tense, and that's the important thing in this context. Yeah, I mean, it's fixable, sure. And what constitutes fixed? At this point, better might be enough.
Yeah.
But the present tense is not good enough, I don't think, to get where they want to get.
No, 60 yards rushing against Maryland is very much unacceptable. Brian Hartline was asked, how's the running game going? Is it good? And how good is it? He said, it's not good enough. And one of the things he did say that I like is you're evaluated when you need it most.
Yeah.
And that is, and throughout life, I'm just going to throw that out for everybody, that you're going to be evaluated when you need it most, especially if you are an offensive lineman or a coach in the coaching a position that is not working out. And he can, Ryan Day and whoever can try to sugarcoat it, but these are as Urban Meyer would say, we're in a results oriented business, and the results are easy for everyone to see. And when you're running for 60 yards against Maryland, obviously you need to find the fix. And it is just it's Justin Fry said it's nothing physical, but he did admit that some scheme, they probably are maybe asking too much of them. They're gonna have to dial back what they're asking, what they're doing. And perhaps there's you try to do it as long as you can, or you hope that they pick it up. And then you're like, well, it's week 5, game 5. Like, okay, so it's not happening. We're going to have to scrap it. We're going to have to do something different.
Well, this sort of works to the old idea of tailoring your system to your talent. And that's true in that, hey, you've got some really good wide receivers in the team, so you probably want to throw the ball a good bit. That's also true in, hey, what are you not great at? Well, you need to probably dial that back. And, maybe you would love to do that. But if that's not working, that's not working. And there was a point in Saturday's game where they had thrown 22 passes for 240 yards or something like that, and they had run it 21 times and had gotten 34 yards. It was not, those are not exact numbers, but it was close. And I know they want to run the ball, and I know they need to run the ball at some point, but you also have to tailor they have tried a bunch of stuff. It's not like they've been just it's not like running the ball is just as one monolithic thing. They have tried a bunch of different stuff schematically in the run game. Not a lot of it has worked super well. They found individual isolated things that have worked, but they haven't found, they're not a 3-pitch, 4-pitch pitcher right now. They can get the fastball over maybe, but there's not a lot of other offerings there.
No, and if you're watching, go ahead and throw some questions into the chat. Kevin will get them to us. Super chats are always welcome. Also, now is a great time for anybody out there listening or watching to join BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member for the price, as Tom says, of a lousy chain store pizza, and also, Tom, a good chain store pizza.
Well, and I've also seen it expressed recently as less than 50 cents a day, which when you think about that, you'd kind of be an idiot not to do it.
Imagine eating pizza for just 50 cents a day.
That's once a month. Once a month, you can have a bad pizza for 50 cents a day.
Just
yes,
that one pizza over the course of a month. But please check out Buckeye Huddle, become a member, and say hello to us there. Go ahead if you got something.
I was going to just continue the thought on what it means to be able to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when they know you're going to run it, how well do you run it? When they know you're going to pass it, how well do you pass it? And it feels like when they know they're going to pass it, they can still pass it more often than not. When they know they're going to run it, not so much. And what I tweeted this on Saturday, and it was kind of a joke, but also statistically accurate. Ohio State's better at picking up 2nd and 33 than they are at 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, and it's true. And I don't think that would probably bear out over a much larger sample size, but they can. That's very obviously a passing situation. They know you're going to throw the ball on 2nd and 30, unless you're just giving up and running a draw play or something. The assumption is you're going to throw it. They threw it, and they picked it up in one try. So, it feels like there's a little more confidence on one half of that equation than the other.
Yeah, I can't recall a time this season where they didn't pick up a 2nd and 33.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably bears out. Justin Fry talked about they did get back to basics a little bit this week. Just getting back to some simpler things. And I really think, you stop asking guys to do stuff they can't, because I think there's enough evidence right now to know that. And somebody asked about, stretch to the boundaries. Like, yeah, but we have done well there with, it has worked at times, and that gets back to the consistency. And it's always one thing that derails you. I still don't think I think it's more than one thing, because you can look across the line on any given snap and you're going to see, probably more than one bad hand placement or a bad step or a slip. There is a lot of slipping on the offensive line that I've noticed, but it's the confidence is still completely there. And this is Ohio State. So if you've got a position that you're not confident in, maybe go back to 2020 in the secondary. Like you could tell, like there's concern there. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that level of concern here about this. Maybe in the spring a little with the offensive line, but like the confidence is there. But the depth right now, the twos aren't pushing the ones at this point, and so you can't. It's these five. It's ride or die with these five, unless somebody goes down with something.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about the offensive line in fall camp, and they hadn't really changed anything. They sort of came into fall camp with like it could be any of these mix of guys, and then you got a week or two into fall camp, and it was still the same guys who were starting. We kind of went, okay, so they've clearly found what they wanted, and it feels like that might have been more of a statement on the second team offensive line than the first team offensive line at that point, and. Without getting to watch a lot of practice in the fall, you're just sort of guessing and interpreting, and you can get told things, and it's, sometimes you're getting told what they want to think, and, sometimes maybe you don't always know before the rubber meets the road and in a real game, but that's a little bit concerning that there's not, there is no cavalry coming to save the day. It is, they got to figure it out. And, schematic changes will probably help, and you're sort of getting into what if you can just do a couple things well, that might be all they need to do, because they have they have a defense that can not entirely carry the team, but carry the team enough that if they're passing the ball well and they're running the ball just a little bit okay enough to keep the defense honest, that might be enough for them. Boy, we are it is another day of yes.
That's not a donut. This is a donut.
Yes, I'm not even. I was going to say cranky, Tony, but I'm not going to. Yeah, it is. It feels like they don't need to get that much better, but they've got to get better. That has to get better, and I mean, it doesn't need to get better for them to win this weekend, but it might need to get better for them to win next weekend.
Yeah, you're gonna. If it doesn't get better, you're looking at some trestle ball win, like not in that same vein, but in terms of painful defensive. Any play could lose it for you type of games against Penn State, and you hope you could have that same kind of game against Michigan if you can't run the ball. Because if you can't run the ball, the road obviously is not going to be easy, and it's the expected pass is not the way to win. But you're not just going to scrap everything now and be like, okay, well, we know we're not going to be able to run the ball. And last time. You blame Jesse Mirko for this because
you blame Jesse Mirko.
Well, I just put 2 and 2 together.
I could never. I'm merely.
This is what happens when you have 2 Australians on a team. By the way,
it is yes because there's Joe McIntyre,
Joey McIntyre from the Kids on the Block.
Yes, they are hanging tough out there in the parking lot, and yeah, I'm going to suspect it is not either of the Australians, but
probably
anyway,
Canadians,
almost certainly. Anyway, so let's talk about literally anything else. How about Caden Curry? Can we talk about Caden Curry? Because I think the exact quote from Brian Hartline is Caden Curry is awesome. And talk about how, it was like, okay, so how did you figure out that the guy in the defensive end room was going to be your answer at fullback? And he said, everything he does defensively, he does on offense. He's tough. He's physical. He's a joy to be around. He said they looked at his high school film. And he did some of this stuff in high school, and just knowing the athlete and the individual, it was kind of like, well, if he did it in high school, maybe he can do it here.
He said he has been pushing for this since he got here. And then he paraphrased Kevin Noon's favorite line from Silence of the Lambs when he said, "I'd give it to me."
I've never used that.
Tony, let's talk about the PLS in the parking lot. Here's Josh Ricketts lost his black stripe defensive end out of Indiana.
Yes,
and true freshman. So only true freshman defensive end in this class. So so that's
Arvell Reese.
Well, Arvell Reese is
now
a linebacker / defensive end / whatever.
So that was good. This
good.
is the time of year where a lot of the summer guys started losing them.
Yep. Brian Hartline was asked about his transition to offensive coordinator, just sort of how that's going, because it's still, if you noticed on the graphic on the broadcast, Ryan Day is still listed as the play caller for Ohio State. So, it has not fully gone through, the transaction has not fully processed through the bank. Brian Hartline said it's a little like being a dad, where beforehand you're like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And then it happens and it's like, oh. But then every day you get a little better, you're a little more prepared, and you're never until you do it, you never quite know, I think, if how well you're going to do it. But he said he's just sort of feeling a little more comfortable. And this is a relatively, I guess this is not the most difficult way you could have to take over as a play caller, because he can kind of take over when they're ready for that transition. It's like you sell your house, but you've already bought your new house and you haven't sold your old house yet, or there's a period of transition there where you don't have to move it all in one day. You can kind of move stuff a carload at a time, and it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off, and it's not just crazy deadline pressure all the time. It seems like it's a little like that maybe for him, where it's just you're taking on more responsibility. You're taking another carload of stuff over to the new place every day, and eventually it's like, oh, we're pretty much moved in.
Well, and how we know that it's less pressure is because nobody is blaming him for the lack of the running game. Mm-hmm. Like, he is still viewed as, can't miss, the guy who recruits 5-star wide receivers, and other teams, other schools want him to be their assistant coach and their offensive coordinator. But when you've got an offense that is struggling like this, he is untouchable in terms of the blame. And obviously, as you said, Ryan Day is the play caller, and so much of this offense is just him, and it's always been him. It will always be him. So it's a great way to ease into the system in a program that is scoring 45 points a game before you took over the job as offensive coordinator, and now is scoring 10 fewer points per game. But it's not his fault.
Right. It's not his fault, and it's not. Eventually the mantle will be handed over, and then the first time they punt, it will be his fault. But
it should be.
Yeah, I mean,
how dare you?
Yeah, so far so good on that front. Larry Johnson, got to talk to him. I always love talking to Larry Johnson. It's like talking to your, it feels like if you're having problems in your life, you go to Larry Johnson and he'd sit you down and pat you on the knee and talk you through it. It's just, he's got that very like grandfatherly vibe to him. He was talking about JT Tuimoloau being a moment guy where, you don't know when it's going to happen, but it's like there's going to be a big moment, and that's going to be the JT Tuimoloau play. And he's just, and he's right. I mean, that's you think through some of the biggest moments of these last couple of games when it's like, man, Ohio State really needs a play, and then there's JT Tuimoloau. It was interesting. He was asked about how they ended up with Tuimoloau and Sawyer playing every snap against Notre Dame, and he said that was a function of the fact they only had 25 snaps in the first half. So you'll have 25 snaps in the first half. It's not hard to play that many snaps. And then he said he just talked to them on the sideline and, later in the game, and they said they were good. And he's at the point where he's known them long enough. They've known him long enough that he can trust them. You kind of know, you know what you can see guys maybe losing their technique a little bit, whatever it is. But he said, that he asked, they said they were good to go. So they were good to go.
Being the moment guy reminds me of the Simpsons episode where the Yakuza is fighting the mafia, and Homer he sees the little guy, like the guy over there. He's like,
I know he's going to do something cool.
Yeah, and that's JT Tuimoloau. He's going to do something cool towards the end of the game, a big moment, and that's what he does. And that's you just expect that. And I'm Buckeye fans are hoping they don't need to see it this weekend at Purdue. But crazier things have happened there.
Maybe the moment comes in the first quarter. That wouldn't be so bad if it happens in the first quarter.
Let's see, Kyle McCord, talking to him, I asked him, does something change for you over the course of the game that where you struggle in the first quarter? Not struggle, but where things pick up, in the second, third, and fourth. And he said basically the last game against Maryland, they were just very choppy, getting penalties and putting them behind the sticks. And he needs to do better on 1st and 10. I agree. Everybody needs to do better on 1st and 2nd down rather, and make that keep them out of a 3rd and 10 where everybody then knows they're passing and they drop 8, and it's really, really tough to get 10 yards on that. And you throw short because you just the clock in your head is telling you need to get rid of the ball, and so you throw it to Marvin Harrison for 7 yards instead of 10 yards or whatever. So that aspect of just a faster start and getting the rhythm there better. I did like how he says, the 2 throws to Marvin Harrison in the red zone. Ryan Day said this week that was the most confident he's seen Kyle McCord, and McCord agreed. And he said the thing down in the red zone is nobody's really open down there. So you've got to get a good pre-snap read, and when that matches the post-snap read, like then the confidence shoots up. And so that's where his confidence was in those plays there. And you saw that was just that was almost a blank you to the refs on that throw. Like, I'll show you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and poor Marvin had lost a couple touchdowns already to penalty calls already in the season. So yeah, it was nice a little cathartic for him to get that one. But just to spell this out a little bit more in case people are wondering why isn't anyone open in the red zone. That's not a function of the receivers aren't any good. That's a function of the field being so compressed. All of a sudden, if you're down at the 12-yard line, you don't have any safeties taking dropping 25 yards back because they would be behind the goalpost. You have only a limited amount of space on the field, and everyone's a little closer to the ball. There's a little less space to work with between guys if it's in a zone, or a little less room. If someone gets open on a road route, there's someone a little closer. So yeah, that's the reason behind that.
I'm assuming people have maybe asked about Emeka Egbuka. No update there. Brian Hartline,
he said, and I quote, "It's a secret."
Now, what did he say when he was asked? So who would be the next guy in?
That also, Tony, is a secret. He was, however, immediately after that, asked about Xavier Johnson and talked about the fact that it would be, could be he can do it all. Provides the ability to switch, playing slot or outside. Everything he does is excellent. And then I'm sort of paraphrasing here, but it sounds like, if they don't have Emeka Egbuka, you might see more Xavier Johnson on Saturday.
Is there some irony that the guy named X is not a secret?
That's
think about that, Tom.
That's
Carnell Tate was a topic for Brian Hartline and Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord's quote on Carnell Tate. Let's see. Carnell's been ready since he got here. He's going to be scary good.
Yeah, and Brian Hartland was asked if he's ready for a bigger role, and my notes, I didn't quite write the exact quote, was sounds like he's better for a bigger role. So, I think it feels like, they feel pretty good about their two deep, which is six receivers. Xavier Johnson, Carnell Tate, very clearly both in that group. And I think that, he was asked about not rotating more. And he said, they don't rotate the left tackle. They don't rotate the right tackle. They don't rotate, you don't rotate your quarterback. They have rotated guys in the past, but you got to have your best players out on the field. And if you've got Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming, I think the argument is you should be rotating less. You should be running less 12 personnel and keeping Julian Fleming on the field more, maybe. I mean, that's because those are probably your three best receiving threats, and Julian Fleming blocks just fine. I mean, this is not someone you got to get off the field because he can't run block. I mean, I think, if anything, you should be playing the top three guys more, not less. But, they're comfortable with those guys. If someone is hurt and isn't able to play, hypothetically, let's say this Saturday against Purdue, they're confident in the other guys they got to roll out there net.
Yeah, it just comes down to something that we've heard from assistant coaches for years, that you're not going to put somebody who is a lesser player out there. So it comes down to Marvin Harrison at 80% versus, Carnell Tate at 100%. Like, at what level is Marvin Harrison equal to a 100% Carnell Tate? And it's, you're going to go a ways, just despite what Marvin Harrison has said in the past.
We talk a lot about the freshman awakening during the spring, and the guys who get to Ohio State and everyone's the best player in their county, and then get to Ohio State and it's like, oh, there's everyone here was the best player in their county. I bet the answer to the what percentage of Marvin Harrison would you get down to before you substitute, not picking on any particular receiver, but anyone outside of the top three, the percentage I think would be upsettingly low probably to some of those guys.
Yeah, certainly. Kevin, do we have any questions?
We do. We'll have to kind of power through.
Yes.
LC Zabo, I heard Kyle take some responsibility for the bad run game.
Well, I wasn't over there for that, so I'm going to call Sue a liar. No. The quarterback is going to take responsibility for a lot of stuff.
Right,
and pointing out the protections and things like that. And, he is a leader of this team, so he's going to take responsibility for a lot of things, and he's going to pass the accolades onto other people as well. That's what you want from a captain who isn't necessarily a captain. If he is taking responsibility for that, and I believe what he said. I believe I'm not casting aspersions at Sue, but that is also something that will get better the more he plays and as the season goes on. So there's some optimism there as well.
Next one here. It's just me, Tim. Is it so too early for jailbreak screens?
Is it ever too early for jailbreak screens?
Well, they tried it on the goal line essentially.
Right, yeah.
And the defense was ready for it, surprisingly, to Ryan Day.
Yeah, well, and that's something that I guess you're more likely to get a zero blitz there, where you're not as worried about getting it thrown over your head. But again, you've got a lot more defenders compressed in that one area, so you don't have as much, room for them to, as much room to work with the backs, the back seven defenders, getting more depth.
I remember Brian Hartline scoring on a screen down inside the 10 one time, and it was maybe like the first time I've ever seen a wide receiver screen work at Ohio State, because the screens outside of the Walt Harris era at Ohio State have not always been that great.
Brian Hartline was asked about, speaking of Brian Hartline playing days, asked about his memories of playing at Purdue, and he remembered the locker rooms as luxurious and well situated. Sarcasm level. The sarcasm detector exploded on that one. And he talked about, I think he had a long reception but didn't score at Purdue whenever they were playing there.
Rick S., is there a point where they start using G. Scott as a receiving tight end, or do you think that they should go with a wide receiver in his place?
Should they start using G. Scott more as a receiving tight end, or go with the wide receiver in his place? And I would love to see them use him more downfield as a receiving option, but Kate Stover is doing really well at that job as well. No, I still think more 11 personnel, more 3 receiver sets is perhaps what we're going to see. You talked with Ross Fulton about how so much of the 12 personnel, the 2 tight ends was an answer to what Maryland was doing defensively.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something you're necessarily going to see as a consistent thing throughout the year. I still feel like, I don't think G. Scott's going to be a consistent receiving threat for this team necessarily. I don't think he has 20 receptions this season or anything like that, but it feels like there is going to be there's always a moment in a close game where you break out the roll right, throw left to the guy who's just, is blocking, and then releases, and you've saved it all year, and then you use it. G. Scott touchdown against Penn State in the third quarter of a close game, something like that. I feel like you're more likely to see something like that in a big moment than he turns into this consistent receiving threat for this year.
I mean, I keep waiting. I've had him scoring touchdowns in the last 2 bowl prediction contests.
This is your version of 220, where as soon as I pick it, it's going to happen.
Well, there was, I don't know if it was the Notre Dame game, but like he had his man beat down the seam, and it's like we don't get to see enough of that. That's what everybody envisioned when he made the switch. He's going to be a downfield guy, and that has not developed yet. I think the blocking has gotten better and better, and they feel completely confident in him. But that seems to be the next step with him is now let's use him in the passing game, because the only reason to move a receiver to tight end is because that can give you an advantage.
Well, he has another year, right?
Yes.
Well, okay, so maybe that's the 2024 is the year of the tight end from Washington, because it feels like they have their year of the tight end this year already, and so Cade Stover's going after this year, so then it becomes the G. Scott show. That's my personal prediction. Touchdown in a big moment this year, and then next year he becomes maybe more the main guy.
Jeff Straley, thoughts of moving Jack Sawyer inside the defensive tackle?
I mean, you'd have to bulk him up quite a bit, right? I mean,
you'd have to put. I don't think you do it this year.
No.
That's something where you're in technically a contract year. I don't know that he would want to do that. I don't know that they have a problem with how well he's playing this year either. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Larry Johnson talked about that or was even asked about that. That when we talk to Coach, when we talk to Jim Knowles, they're all good. They tell us they're good.
Well, but
he's playing constantly.
It's easy to say it. But when they're playing on the road at Notre Dame and he's playing every snap, that's you're not just saying it. If JT Tuimoloau is playing 100% of the snaps there, and Jack Sawyer is playing 60 and they're rotating, Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson in for Jack Sawyer, but not for, that tells me one thing. JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer playing every snap in the biggest game of the year so far, that tells me something else.
Like when Ryan Day said he was looking forward to watching Mayan Williams play this past week, and he, carried the ball 3 or 4 times in the fourth quarter. You said one thing and you did another.
Yep.
3 more, unless we get a super chat. Brian DeGroff, with OSU having at least 3 offensive linemen coming in through recruiting, how many do you think they try to bring in through the portal?
I think you can't not go to the portal. You can't not look at the portal. No, there's no harm in browsing, and if you see something you like, I'm not into the impulse shopping. I think that's maybe what they did this year. I think this is not about enticements, Tom. This is about seeing if there's a good cultural fit. And if there is, then pay that man some money.
Which dating app do you use to find offensive linemen? Because tight ends are obviously farmers only.
Right.
But where do you find your offensive linemen?
Well, we're gonna have to workshop that one, because everything I'm going to say right now is going to be way too inappropriate for the show.
What's it like working with someone as quick-witted as Tony? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Next question.
You're the one who asked.
Yes.
But you gave the answer of farmers.
Mike Smith, the short yardage and offensive line issues. I don't buy that it's bad players. Lesser talent has much more success week in and week out. This is bigger than the 5 guys on the line of scrimmage.
I think that's a really good point, that lesser talent has been able to have success everywhere else. That's why I go back to if you have a bad offense, it's on purpose, because you see places like Northwestern having a very good offense in the past, not recently, but they have been able to do that. And other schools have been able to use the spread to equalize things, to put up points and to move the ball and do it in many different ways. And so, yeah, that's a good point. Like, and Justin Fry admitted, like, scheme has been somewhat of an issue at this point. But you can also watch the players not doing everything that you'd ask them, to do correctly.
Well, yeah, this is not a team that has five stars across the deck. And, having five stars across the deck does not always guarantee perfect success. Offensive line is such a developmental position that there might be some of the least correlation between recruiting rankings and performance there. But they also that has been an area where there have been years where they've had, hey, here's the top guys on the board, and then they don't hit on many or all of them. And I do think, I think a lot of people are looking at this and going, Justin Fry's fault. And it's such a developmental position. I think this is the last year you can kind of point to some of the misses under Stud and go, that might be part of it. Next year, you've got to kind of sink or swim on your own. But
the depth in that room that Justin Fry is dealing with, you've got a lot of guys, as we've said over the last year or two, that are never going to play here. Like you've got, and so some of those guys have departed, but until you get to the point where more than half of your guys are capable of playing here, and I'd have to go down the list and see exactly what that number is, what that percentage is, but that percentage needs to get up because, as we said earlier in the show, the second team is not pushing the first team right now, and some of this first team, you win the job, but how much of this has been won by default?
Well, and you got a lot of third and fourth year guys who are either not contributing and not even in the too deep necessarily, or who are elsewhere, and that's. Those are guys with offensive line being a developmental position. It's not impossible to play your first year, but it's close enough to impossible that you can certainly see it from there. And your second year, you're playing if there's no one else who's good enough, and that's where Carson Hinsman is. You really shouldn't probably be starting at Ohio State as a second-year player either. It's a testament to Carson Hinsman that he is, but it's also a testament to the other guys that aren't on campus right now that he is. It should be those third and fourth year guys. And, you may even have a fifth year guy here and there, but you've got third and fourth and fifth year guys who are still here that aren't contributing. And there've been plenty of them who've left as well. And, you're going to have misses in the offensive line room, but you hit a point where it's like, that's too many misses.
Yeah. I haven't gone back to look. I wonder when the last time Ohio State lost two offensive linemen after 3 years to the NFL. I don't know if it's ever happened.
I can't remember off the top of my head. And, you look at how different would this line be if Luke Whippler had come back as expected. He has not had the rookie season that Paris Johnson leaving early. Yeah, absolutely. Look where he get drafted. Look how he's playing. Absolutely. DeJuan Jones seems like he's been a positive impact player for the Browns. Was a second round pick? That's absolutely go. Yeah, you put Luke Whippler on this team, I wonder how different things look in the middle of that line.
Yeah, I think DeJuan was a fourth or fifth round, and
was
Luke
he
Whippler was like a sixth, right?
Yeah, DeJuan slipped.
He slipped.
He didn't do a lot of the workouts at the combine, and there were some work ethic questions and that.
Speaking of questions, last question,
barring a super chat from Aggie, I guess. It will be bowl season, and we'll be talking about the short yardage disaster. When do we accept that it's not happening and start doing what works?
Well, and that's kind of what we talked about earlier in terms of the scheme changing, and we've tried this for 5 weeks, and it's not working. So now we're going to remove that, just cut that out of the offense. And as Justin Fry said, well, what works? I mean, keeping your running back healthy works.
I see a guy catching balls out of the Monarch machine down there. That might be it.
Marvin Harrison
just
works.
A thought.
Yeah, I think. In terms of what works, the coaches know what works. Do more of that, and that's obviously the defense the opposing defense will know that as well. But you should still be able to do what you do well against what other people are expecting, and they can't just sell out to stop one thing against Ohio State, or else this has gone horribly wrong for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and if they sell out to stop one thing, you have to be able to do the other. If they're doing the functional equivalent of running punt block in a goal line situation, like in the old NCAA video game, you got to be able to have a counter to that. And if they're putting two guys out there against Marvin and two guys out there against Emeka in short yardage, well, you better be able to run the ball between the tackles. you have to have a counterpunch to whatever the other team is doing, and if they're overdoing it, like Ohio State last year selling out to stop the run at the end of the Michigan game, and then boom, they popped the long one. And they hit them over the top with the pass when they were doing that. You have to have the counterpunch. If you do, you hit a bunch of big plays off of it. If you don't, you are, bowl season is not going to happen in the places that Ohio State fans want it to happen.
No, it won't. So that will do it from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Thank you all for joining us as always. And as I said during the start of the show, now is a fantastic time to join BuckeyeHuddle.com. It's a great way to support us in what we do here. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube at live, go ahead and hit the thumbs up if you have not done that yet. If you have, thank you very much. If you're not subscribed to the channel, now is a great time to do that as well. And, of course, hit the bell to be notified whenever we go live like this on Thursday nights and every other day. Oh, but before we go, Kevin.
Not just a chat.
That's a super chat.
It is a super chat. Mike Smith, does Pace have any eligibility left? LOL.
Make
sure to like the stream and subscribe to Buckeye Huddle for great content.
The answer, excitingly, is yes. It is Jalen Pace. It is the son of Orlando Pace, and also Landon Pace, also a son of Orlando Pace, a 2025, I believe, tight end, has holds an Ohio State offer. So Pace could have multiple years of eligibility moving forward.
The odometer on eligibility should reset at some point, like maybe when you hit 40 or something like that. Orlando, well, how many snaps do you think Orlando could give them? Good snaps right now, say in the first drive. Could he stay out there the entire drive?
Okay, Orlando Pace was smart enough to hold out of training camp every year. Do you think Orlando Pace? We talked about the facilities at Purdue. Do you think Orlando Pace is? I think you got to wait till it's a home game. I don't think Orlando Pace is going to be. I'm sure he still loves the Buckeyes, and I'm sure he still loves the program, and of course loves his children. But I don't know. I don't know if ever anyone loves their kids enough to go
Haven't you seen
volunteer
the
for that.
commercial with Emmitt Smith and with Randy Moss and some other NFL players who are like, I can go back and play, and then they fall asleep on the sideline, and they're like, I'm good right here at the couch.
Yes. Don't put any recliners on the sidelines, and I think you'll be okay. So thank you for that super chat. And again, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.